guys. So the last video that I made or something thereof, we took this little wizard dude and we started making him move around. Oh, why is this off? We started making him move around, and there were a couple things that I ended up learning, which I thought were kind of interesting that I wanted to show you guys. So if I just tap, 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 you can see that he doesn't have like a whole lot of movement. Like he's just kind of like trying to like inch forward. But if I push and hold, then he starts to kind of like pick up speed and then move. There's a reason why that is, and it was because of one thing that, geez, Snapchat there. My wife's trying to get a hold of me. I'm just gonna send her a quick picture. There we go. All right, baby. Bump, bump, bump. So, reason being is because of this. So, GetAxis and GetAxisRaw are two different pieces of code. Okay, and we're gonna go. I'm gonna show you that stuff later, but Unity API GetAxis. I want to show this to you just so that we can take a look at it together. When you use GetAxis, okay, the value will be a range from -1 to 1, right? So it'll be like on the way to -1 and then on the way to 1. But it is a float, right? It's a range of all the numbers that are in between in there. So you have to imagine that it's going to kind of like move towards it and not just instantly be it and come back. Instantly be it and come back. It's not like tapping a key, right? And where does it say? Identified range. Value depends on the type of input control, like a joystick pushed all the way versus like just a little bit. And then if it's in its neutral position, it's 0. If the axis is mapped to the mouse, the value is different and will not be a range. Instead, it'll be the current mouse delta multiplied by the axis sensitivity. So I'm not quite sure what that means. And it's a frame rate independent, so you do not need to be concerned about varying frame rates when using this value. So if it's independent of the frame rate, it's like you got a fast computer, small computer, doesn't matter. It's like it takes 1 second to get there, then it takes 1 second to get there. And I don't know that I could change the sensitivity, but if you put in GetAxis, that's not what I meant to do. GetAxisRaw. This one, virtual axis identified with no smoothing applied. Okay, no smoothing applied, meaning it's either this one, this one, and this one. It's either -1, it's 0, or it's 1, and that's it. It's integer kind of deal, right? I guess. I mean, it's marked as a float, but anyways, it's whole numbers only, and just those ones, no range. There's no smoothing. Excuse me, I'm dying here. So if we put it like this, and we say, that these movements are raw rather than having that smoothing effect, then when we go to move our wizard banum, he's move, 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 and it picks up right away. It's like super, super fast, right? Now I can obviously turn down the speed, okay? But he goes from 0 to 100 immediately, right? And I don't like that. Now I think what people do is they use raw and then add coded buffers for the start and end time of the movement. And I don't fully know how to do that, but I got a video that I was watching on it, so we're going to do that at some point. I think that's how they do it. So for the moment being, I'm just going to take that. I'm going to take the raw off. So it gives me the smoothed out version. And then so now we've got this smoothed out movement. But the movement speed does have to be higher, because in order to be able to have some kind of like movement, see, I'm going to say like let go. It's got a little bit of drag that ends up probably half a unit or 3/4 of a unit. But yeah, it's got to be a little bit higher, because otherwise, if it's let's say you want your character to move a total of, let's say like this speed, because I think it's like it's relative. What is that called? Lerping? I don't know. Linear something, whatever something. Okay, so apparently I only know what the L of lerp stands for. It's 25%. I failed that test. But yeah, so it's like it starts to climb up, but so gently that it kind of feels like it takes way too long to get to that max speed, and it's like you want to push the key harder, you know. So you got to turn the movement speed up a bit more, so that that little half a unit that he's got to like pick up speed doesn't feel like it's taking too long because he can move so fast, you know. So I know it seems pretty fast, but when you move around, it feels better like this. Anyways, so I like that. I think it's kind of cool, but that might be better for like a platformer rather than like a top-down 2D, because you wouldn't want to be like zoomed in too much. We got the, you know, if this is 1680 by 1050, like that's the resolution in my monitors. For you guys, it's probably like this, right? 1920. And so if you were playing in a top down, see how quickly you can kind of like move to the edge of a screen. So if you're playing for like a minute or two moving around, the world would have to be massive, right? And so if you're going like this way and this way, and your movement speed is a little bit higher, and you're playing a platformer and you're jumping, boing, boing, and then you're shooting stuff, you're not always moving through the screens at a quick rate, right? Anyway, so that was the GetAxisRaw thing that I learned. The other thing that I learned, which I thought was cool. Yes, baby girl, I know. Phone's going off the hook here. This one, I had an else statement here. Don't do that. Okay, you're saying like if the move input, because I'm getting some move input, if it's, you know, greater than, then we're going to change the local scale to this. Else, change it to the opposite, right? The problem with that is that if you put an else statement, if you put else here, so do this if this is true, else do that one, what happens is that your character will, let's say, like flip to the left if you're moving left, and he'll flip to the right if you're moving right, but then when you let go, he flips back to the left. And then he flips to the right, and then he flips back to the left. Because it's only when you've got it pressed and you're in the positives that he's switching, right? And you don't want that. Let's just show you what that would look like. It's really kind of dumb. I don't know how Unity can do that, like recompile the script while it's running, and maybe because it's in the update, I don't know. Anyway, see? So if I put the scale, you know, if I have the move input positive, then the scale changes to match, because that's what I told it to do. But then when I let go, it stops, because it says do this if this, else go back to that. Because I was kind of assuming that if I'm not pushing this one, then I'm pushing this one, but that's not the case. Sometimes I'm just not pushing any of them, and I don't want it to move back, right? So we don't want that, because that doesn't look good. So we'll just undo those, and we'll save this. So that was the two things. I learned the movement for Bonhomme to make sure that he's facing the proper way, and then he's kind of got this little like pickup speed, and that feels good. But maybe I want that more like a platformer, because he's super fast. I'm not entirely sure. And that's it for now.